Welcome back to Creative Therapy Umbrella. This is a place where we talk about all different types of creative arts therapy, expressive therapies, and creative approaches to therapy. My name is Kate Shannon, and I am a board-certified music therapist as well as a licensed clinical professional counselor. I am super pumped today because I get to talk with you about some fun stuff, and I love sharing different ideas and just fun things that I've been using in my sessions. So that is what today is going to be all about. So you might notice today that my microphone or I sound a little bit different, and I'm having some mic issues. So I'm back to using an old microphone. So the sound quality may be a little bit different and not as good today, but hopefully that will be back up to par within no time. All right. Not much announcements this week, which is really exciting. We just came off of a really wonderful launch of new pod courses. If you are a podcast fan and you like earning credits for listening to podcasts, then check out MTPC, Music Therapy Podcast Collective. That is what we do. It's what we specialize in, and helping not only to keep podcasting sustainable, because it is a lot of work, so then we're supporting podcasters, but also making CMTEs and continuing education in general more accessible. You can get it while you're driving or hanging out at your kitchen doing your dishes. I think that's my favorite part about it, is just really accessible. So check that out. I'll put a link to it's mtpodcastcollective.com if you want to check out the website. So that is in our show notes. But besides that, I think we'll dig right into some of the fun stuff today. There are a few different things that I want to share, and there will be links to all of the stuff in the show notes as well. So if you hear something and you're like, ooh, I want that, ooh, I need that, that sounds really awesome, check out the show notes because you will be able to find that stuff easily. Again, always feel free to write in and ask too. I love talking with listeners. So always feel free to write in. So first, we're going to go into something that I have used so much and am endlessly grateful for that they exist, and they're story cubes or story dice. And I know I've probably talked about these before, but they are one of my most favorite tools in therapy. And for so many different reasons too, because not just the power of storytelling we know is so incredible. If you've read Dan Siegel's book, The Whole Brain Child, he talks a lot about within there of how children and teens process through storytelling and through kind of retelling experiences, traumatic experiences, retelling it. And there's so much that we can do through storytelling of rewriting narratives, finding core beliefs and rewriting those as well. And so much that can come from story cubes. So I wanted to just give a couple examples of how I've found these to be therapeutic in very different ways. So what they are really is they're a set of 9 die, and there's lots of different types too. I have a set that's magic and fairy tale, voyages, it's like a traveling set, just a regular set, and actions, and you can get all these different kind of themes. But what you do is you roll the 9 die, and whatever they land on, that is what you have to use to make a story. And again, these rules can be really whatever rules. You can pick them. It depends on the kiddo or the teen. But I found these really incredible for actually some of my teens. In that they have provided, for example, one way that I've used them is cooperative storytelling. And what I find really amazing using cooperative storytelling, it's an amazing moment for assessment, assessing how cognitively flexible a teen is with me throwing in, a random thing into the story. For example, if we have let's say we have a couple dice. We have a wizard, a top hat, a knight, and a bow and arrow. And the story starts with the client starting with their wizard, and they put the wizard out and they say, one day there's a magical wizard, and the wizard, he lived on top of a mountain, and And then it's my turn to pick a cube and add, or a die, and put that into the story. And this is how we would do cooperative storytelling. I might then say, and the knight, there was a knight who lived at the very bottom of the mountain. And at the bottom of the mountain, he stayed day in and day out, keeping the wizard protected. And then the client says something else with her next die. And then the knight has a bow and arrow that he uses to slay off the dragons. And then I come in, I might take this top hat that's on a die, if that's the image on it, and say, and then one day, a magical bunny hopped out of the top hat and hopped into a portal. And add just kind of like I think it's like that left turn where, a story seems to be going this way. And these can be really interesting in cooperative storytelling when you kind of assess, okay, where is this flexibility? Can we continue the story? Does the team get excited at that? Do they say, wow, oh my gosh, yeah, let's go there? Or is it like, oh, this is too hard, or this is making me anxious? It's a golden opportunity to reflect so much that's happening in those moments. So that's one of my favorite ways to use it, is cooperative storytelling. And a lot of times I'll actually use several sets. So I'll have like 18 dice and be telling a cooperative story and go back and forth and each put in a die and continue the story. But another really great way is to just allow the child or the teen to tell the story completely on their own. And I have found this to be so telling, especially for some clients who are just storytellers, or they're very it's one of their strengths. Maybe they're big readers. They like to read manga, or they like to dive into Harry Potter, Hunger Games, or any kind of books. They're into reading, into storytelling. I often find themes that come out of that, and then not only is the process in itself therapeutic, but sometimes kids will kind of land on their own answers. So I had a particular instance where I was working with a client, and there was this story, and I think it was actually the Magic and Fairy Tale Dice story, or Magic and Fairy Tale Dice. And there was all of this different stuff that happened, this kind of, so much resiliency, going through all these problems, and the resiliency, overcoming the thing, and looking in the magic mirror, and the mirror said back to the main character, the mirror said back, you've been looking for courage this whole time, but it's been within you. And you've been looking outside, but it's actually within you, and you need to look inside and find it. So, I mean, it just gives me chills, even just thinking about it. But stories, whether they are stories that kids and teens know from the media that they consume, and those themes that resonate with them come back out in these stories, and it's so powerful. So in that instance, I was like, courage, big word. I need to keep that in my pocket. I need to lean on that and bring that in, and reflect that, and just kind of explore that more. It was a great opportunity to just take something and explore more, which I never would have gotten, kind of doing something else. But that story, in the way sometimes clients tell stories, you can see these big elements that really stand out. The way they describe them, sometimes they show up over and over again in story over story over story. It's that same kind of story and story arc, or there's courage, or there's hope, or these different things. And so I think they're just so, story cubes, story dice are just so magical in what you can use them for: assessing, cooperative storytelling, cognitive flexibility, identifying themes and identifying important emotions, and I think sometimes even helping someone identify it themselves, because it is really within them. And I think as therapists, we're there just to guide. It's, I don't have the answers, but the client does. So, huge fan of story dice. I've just absolutely been loving them. I actually found this Magic and Fairy Tale dice set in Goodwill for $1, and best dollar I've ever spent. Absolutely beyond excited about it. So I'll put a link to those in the show notes if you like stories. If you have kids who you might think like that, like something like this, I can't recommend them enough. They've been awesome. All right, this next one we're diving into is more kind of games, but actually specifically video games, whether it's through Steam or just computer-based games as well, browser-based games. Um, Video games have been really, I think for me, not only just a really important tool to understand a client and what they enjoy and what kind of their strengths are through video games. It's been so helpful to use that as a relationship builder. But I also feel like there's just these golden moments too in video games. When they are in session, that you can use them very therapeutically. And I've found that in a couple different games. And so specifically, I was playing this one game with a client, and really cool game that kind of had you make all these different choices. And one of the choices, actually a bunch of the choices, were very much like they kind of you can have different styles of playing. And I actually know this from, I love playing video games myself, and there's this one called Horizon Zero Dawn, and there's a lot of opportunities throughout the game where it will give you 3 choices on how to respond to somebody. So you might be like going about doing some kind of goal, you're working towards something and you have this goal and you have to talk to this person and maybe get more information, and then you're talking to this person and it will prompt you. And this game, the Horizon Zero Dawn, would have like a brain, a heart, and then something else. I can't remember what it was, but a really logical response and then a really emotional response. And then I think the other one was like a really fighting, like vicious kind of like, yeah, like I'm gonna do this with or without you kind of response. And so you got to choose how you wanted to go about that and how you wanted to interact. And this game I was playing in session was very similar, where you had these different options of reacting and how you would react. And those moments in video games, not only, I think if you even go backwards and saying we're working towards a goal when you're in a video game and you have a goal, that in itself is so wonderful to bring to light of like, wow, okay, we're working on this long-term goal and we have to kind of slowly move there. And what happens when you get tired, and, do you have to take breaks, and what does that look like? And are there other goals in your life like that too? And so many moments for that to happen. But specifically, these really like emotional moments of interacting with other people, I've found are so powerful to ask about, of like, I wonder how you would respond. I wonder how you would respond, or I wonder how your character wants to respond. And is your character you, or are you playing somebody different today? Like, do you want to play like a character and not be you? Having that opportunity to not be ourselves. And I think that goes into kind of the theater piece, and being able to explore somebody completely different from ourselves. So there's so much opportunity in those moments to really get to know a child or a teen in what they like and what they're doing and what motivates them. But then what kind of characters are they playing? Who do they want to be? Who do they want to be more like? Are they always doing the logical kind of answer to something? And because maybe they feel that in real life they respond too emotionally and they want to lean more into the logical, and how can we integrate that? And or vice versa, or they go right to the fighting because they get so revved up so quick. And so many opportunities just in that one example. I feel like there's so many more within video games itself, but I specifically feel like that element in video games has been very present in these past few weeks in some of my sessions. And it makes me think so much of just how much we can access when we get into a child or a teen's world, and how much when we could just be there with them. But we can also find these really beautiful golden nuggets of therapeutic opportunity. And if we can, take the time to go there with the child and really meet them where they're at, and dive into what they like, and be there with them in it, then they show us these moments where we can ask more questions and dig into stuff. So video games. Yeah, that particular element of video games, the interaction of logical and emotional, making choices. Is it a logical choice? Is it an emotional choice? Is it a fighting choice? Finding out why the kiddo or the teen really, really wants to make that choice of, are they just, oh, I like to play video games when I'm frustrated, and that's why I want to do the fighting stuff because it just feels good, and I just want to I want to break stuff, and I feel rage at that time, or oh, I make really emotional choices because I care about the other players in this game because they're my friends, or all these different things. So I've been really, really loving and leaning into those video game. And so there's no links for this one too, because this is just general video game kind of stuff. But definitely something, I think, if you have kids and teens, to kind of lean into that, and even bring the games in session if you can, and play along. It's really, really cool what can come to light. All right, these next two things that we're going to dig into are actually resources that I have in the show notes, and there will be a link to both of them, and you can get them for free. They just went out in my newsletter. Actually, one will be going out in a few days on my blog, as well as in my newsletter in a few weeks. But the first one is using the classic game I Spy as a mindfulness activity. And I love this in that I feel like I've actually used this with kids and teens, and it's been quite effective, even with teens, because it can just be ridiculous and really fun and goofy. So you can put a spin on it that way and use it with teens, but also with kids, because it's a classic game to play with kids. I think most people that I've brought this up to know what this game is. So, but I do think that this game is often overlooked for its power. So with mindfulness, we know, with mindfulness that it's not about like being relaxed or getting relaxed or just meditating, but mindfulness is really the process of coming back to the present moment. And I think coming back is a big part of that. It's not being in the present moment, but coming back to it, because part of mindfulness is that exercise of noticing that you're not in the present moment and reminding yourself to come back. And I think normalizing that, because I feel like a lot of people end up trying to do mindfulness and get frustrated of like, well, I can't clear my mind, or I end up going on somewhere else and thinking about something else, and that's normal. That's part of the mindfulness process. The mindfulness is really just like noticing that and being like, all right, coming back to the present moment. I think it's that coming back part that is really the practice of mindfulness. But I Spy is such a great way to practice that and be in the moment and be in your senses and be in your physical space. So I love using this as a fun game in session. Even talking, I like to have parents doing this often at home during times of like high anxiety. If it's in the car or before meal times or before bed, playing a game of I Spy, to support some of that and practice that mindfulness. So when I bring it into session, I'll usually kind of just regular play it of like, okay, let's play some I Spy. And then after a few times, I might say something like, I'm noticing that you're really focused. You're really present in the here and now. Like, it looks like your mind isn't wandering. You're really thinking about all these things in the room and the things you see and hear and smell and feel and touch. And just kind of make those reflective statements about mindfulness. So it's kind of like that psychoeducation piece of this is what mindfulness is, and I'm noticing that you're mindful right now, so that kiddos can identify that in themselves when they are present and when they feel present versus when their mind feels really busy and when it's kind of dysregulated and moving about. So I like to expand this, and in the download you'll find all these expansion ideas written out, but I think there's a ton of different ways that we can expand I Spy beyond the traditional, I see this thing, I see something blue, I spy something blue. Can you guess what it is? One of them is using art. And because it's such a visual game, I think what you could do is have some type of drawing, or you could do some type of art between two people. And you could show the person or you could not show the person. I feel like you could actually create the art together, taking turns creating art, or taking the time to create art together. And you could set a timer for 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, we're going to create a picture. We can do whatever we'd like on this picture. And then when the timer runs out, begin playing I Spy with the pictures. And it could be like kind of like a Where's Waldo of a picture of I spy something, in somebody's picture. And so I think there's like this double creative process there, in that you're being creative in literally creating something, and then you're being mindful with it. And then you can talk about, was your mind really present when you were creating that art too? Because I noticed that you were really focused and you looked like your mind was really just thinking about the art. And so you can bring that mindfulness to there as well. With sounds and music, this can go that way too. Being mindful about sounds. So if you had like a basket of instruments, one person can say, I spy something round, to describe. You could do the sound or the looks of an instrument, but let's say, okay, like I spy something metal, to describe the sound of an instrument. I immediately thought of like death metal too, which would be funny. But you can use descriptive words: loud, soft, high, low, metal, wood, anything like that. And then the child can go through and find the instrument, test the sounds out, which one is it, and find the sound that you're spying. You can also do this with a soundtrack. So if a child or a teen has like a favorite artist or a favorite soundtrack or something like that, you could pull that up on Spotify and complete the same task by I spy something sad and slow, or I spy something really fast and upbeat, and using descriptive words about the emotions, the types of instruments, the tempo of the song, the lyrics. I spy something that says, let it go. So there's so many ways where you could do that with music and sounds too. Sand tray is I love having a sand tray and miniatures in my room. And this is one of the ways I really love it too, is using the I Spy game. So each person, you could have, someone gets to be the guesser, someone gets to be kind of the creator, and the creator gets to pick a bunch of different items and hide them in the sand tray. And the other part is you could keep the item showing just a tiny bit. Or you could make it really challenging and completely hide everything under the sand. This all depends on what the creator wants to do. So then the guesser would go through, the creator might say, let's say I decided to hide an orange race car and a red heart. And I might say, I spy something red. And so the guesser might go through and first pick up the orange car and be like, all right, that's not it. And then go through and find the red heart. And then I kind of like to turning this into like a memory game, where then you have to put all the pieces back. If, I might put that orange car back, and, the bridge back, and then the octopus back, and there's the red heart. Okay. And then the person might say, I spy something orange. And I would say like, all right, where did I put the car back, and try to find it the first time, which might be fun too. But again, you're being so mindful that whole time. It requires both the creator and the guesser to be pretty mindful. So also, I like this with story cubes, or even roll a story prompts, which will be another download that you can get through the show notes. You can create a story together and then play I Spy by identifying sights, sounds, smells, touches, or tastes that were present in the story, or even could have been present in the story. So if we were thinking back to that story of the wizard and the knight and the mountain, and the bow and arrow and the top hat that goes to another portal, I might say, I spy something, let's see, wet. And then the guesser might be like, where could wet be in this story? And so you can add more elements even if they're not there, or you could pick something that the person who wrote the story or described the story, emphasized, and try to recall those different details. So I just love this game, not only for its simplicity, but because it can be so effective in expanding ideas on how we can get super creative with it. Not just using it as a simple game, but finding different ways that we can bring mindfulness and art and music and sand tray and stories into that as well. So, for the last one, this is actually just a really awesome freebie download, and you can use it in a bunch of different ways. But I remember having this conversation. I believe this was with Chris Wojak, who is on my podcast. It must have been about a year ago, but I'll link to his episode because it was really great. And he's a good friend of mine. But we were talking about feelings cards and how feelings, the majority of feelings cards or visuals that you might, see or get somewhere or print off online just show the face and the different facial expressions. And I actually find that really frustrating in that the body is not present in that. And I think we know so much from neuroscience research, from so many different things, that the body is so involved in our emotions. It is just as involved as our mind and our face, and that it's a really important part to have. So I decided to make feelings cards that actually include the body in the visual representation. So for example, there's one that's like stressed, and it's a kid that has kind of like steam coming out of their ears, but their arms are up, and they look like they're kind of like shaking. It makes their arm look like it's making movement. Or another one that's like sad, and you see like hunched over shoulders, and the person standing and their arms are kind of like, hanging loose down, and which I just think is so important, because I know for me in sessions, when I'm reflecting an emotion, or I see a child in the moment feeling an emotion, I usually reflect what their body is doing too, of like, wow, I can see you're feeling really sad. I can tell by your shoulders. Your shoulders are really hunched over right now. And, I can see on your face that you're very sad, but your body's telling me too. Or I can see that you're really angry right now. You're wanting to really lift your legs and stomp on the floor. Your body has energy. And I can tell you're feeling really embarrassed because you're kind of looking away and hiding. You're putting your arm up to kind of hide your face. And so, we bring into that so much of what a child's body is doing as well, because that is important in emotional regulation, is understanding our body. And so I just felt that I needed to have visuals that actually had that present as well. So this download is in the show notes, and you can just include or download that. That was one that just went out in my newsletter a few days ago. So hop on there and get that freebie, and don't miss all the other freebies that go out. So yeah, those are some things I've really been enjoying in session lately. Enjoying using story cubes, story dice, using the mindfulness, the I Spy game, video games, bringing in games in general, video games into therapy, as well as feeling cards that actually have the body that is a visual. So I hope that some of those are helpful. You enjoy those. These are all pretty like game related, which is really fun. I love bringing games and using games in sessions. So, all right. Well, if you have any questions about anything I used today, or any questions at all in general, to reach out, kate@creativetherapyumbrella@gmail.com. I love hearing from you. Love talking about this stuff. In our next couple of weeks, we have some amazing interviews coming up, talking about some internal family systems work, talking about art therapy. We talk with an art therapist, talking about play and expressive therapies as well, with a fellow podcaster who has an amazing podcast. Both of those episodes I'm super pumped to have out in these next couple of weeks. So stay tuned for those. And of course, take care and be creative.